Good morning, everyone. My name is the Reverend Rachel Tedesco, and I am your worship leader today for today's service. And I warmly welcome you to the First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church in Bridgewater. I've been a member here for 15 years since I retired from active ministry in Taunton. I serve on the worship and social justice committees, and one thing I love about First Parish is how, even if we don't agree with each other on everything, we share the values of love and mutual respect. This morning, our service is being presented by our Social Justice Committee. You who are here in person can see our names on the program. For those online, I am pleased to announce that we are Janet Dye, Betty Gilson, Beth Parlatore, I hope I'm saying that right, Jim Quinn, and I forgot the other names, I'm sorry, Lisa Troy, and David Wilson, and who else? Frank Quinn. So, what? Baxter. Oh, and me, Rachel Tedesco. There was a switch around the last minute, so of course I didn't have it written down, so that's why. So Frank Baxter and David Wilson and Jim Quinn. So before we begin our time for worship, we have just one brief announcement, and I'll ask if there's any others. And Debbie is looking for an opportunity for people to sign up for a coffee hour. So if anyone is willing to do that, that would be great. Please sign up on the clipboard in the Upper Parish Hall, or see Debbie, or she might ask you. So, are there any other announcements? Oh, come up.
Good morning. I love a microphone. Okay. I'm excited to announce spring's biggest event, the First Parish Bridgewater annual meeting. Woo! Okay. It will be Sunday, June 1st, right after coffee hour. We'll come back in here and we will review some really exciting documents, including our budget and our newly updated bylaws, and we will applaud Sam Baumgarten for his incredible work on those. And we will elect people to our elected committees. So if you are a member here, you're welcome to come and vote. And if you're involved in our community in any other way, please come and be a part of the conversation. What can I say? It's the best event of the church year. 3 weeks from now, next week, you'll be getting our meeting packet in your email so that you can really dig into the bylaws, as I know you're all excited to do. Okay.
Are there any other announcements that need to be made? No? Okay. I feel the microphone's there. Okay. First Parish Bridgewater is a welcoming congregation. We proudly fly the rainbow flag to symbolize our welcome to people of all identities, ages, and backgrounds. If you are new to First Parish, we hope you enjoy your experience this morning. We encourage you to fill out the guest book on the table at the rear of the sanctuary, making sure to include your email address to receive church updates. For newcomers joining online, please see the sign-up link posted in the chat. We invite all who are here in person to join us after the service for a time of fellowship in the Upper Parish Hall. The service is being hosted via Zoom. It is being recorded for Bridgewater Cable TV and for YouTube. You can find the link to the YouTube video in the weekly bridging. The recording camera is turned off to protect your privacy during the sharing of joys and sorrows. In the event of an emergency or evacuation drill, please leave the building through the main sanctuary doors, or should you need a ramp, go through the School Street entrance to my left. You are welcome here. Thank you for joining us. Your presence makes a difference. We will now begin our time for worship with the prelude. Beth, would you please come forward to light our chalice? Please join in reading and reciting our chalice lighting words. We light our chalice to mark the sacred hour as we gather in this beautiful historic sanctuary, both in body and spirit. We connect to the many generations that have come here to explore the divine. Let us join our hearts and find the holy in our relationship to each other. It is time to share worship together. Please rise in body or spirit and let us join our voices in the affirmation of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. These are the words of the UU minister, Sarah Campbell. From the dailiness of our lives, we come seeking transcendence, beyond time, beyond our physical selves, and yet within the context of this very moment, we seek to touch and be touched by the spirit of creation and hope. In this hour of worship, may we be open to the power of life. May we bring as individuals and generate in our common quest. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our hymn, We Are Dancing Sarah's Circle. It's number 212 in the gray hymnal, and we're singing verses 1, 2, and 5.
Sarah,
of all ages. Lisa Troy.
This looks good. This is a story that I used to read to my own children when they were very little, and I am so excited to share this any day now with my 13-month-old grandson, Brady, and eventually to our new granddaughter, who will be arriving in August. So how lucky am I? Here we go. A mother bird sat on her egg. The egg jumped. "Oh, oh," said the mother bird, "my baby will be here. He will want to eat. I must get something for my baby to eat. I will be back." So away she went. The egg jumped. It jumped and jumped and jumped. Out came the baby bird. "Where is my mother?" he said. He looked for her. He looked up. He did not see her. He looked down. Oh, he did not see her. "I will go and look for her," he said. So away he went. Down out of the tree he went. Down, down, down. It was a long way down. Ouch! Well, our baby bird could not fly, but he could walk. "Now I will go and find my mother," he said. He did not know what his mother looked like. He went right by her. He did not see her. He came to a kitten. "Are you my mother?" he said to the kitten. The kitten just looked and looked. It did not say a thing. The kitten was not his mother, so he went on. Then he came to a hen. "Are you my mother?" he said to the hen. "No," said the hen. The kitten was not his mother. The hen was not his mother. So the baby bird went on. Then he came to a dog. "Are you my mother?" he said to the dog. "I am not your mother. I am a dog," said the dog. Well, the kitten was not his mother. The hen was not his mother. The dog was not his mother. So the baby bird did go on. Next, he came to a cow. "Are you my mother?" he said to the cow. "How could I be your mother?" said the cow. "I am a cow." Well, the kitten and the hen were not his mother. The dog and the cow were not his mother. Did he have a mother? "I did have a mother," said the baby bird. "I know I did. I will go and find her. I will. Now, the baby bird did not walk. He ran. He ran on and on. He came to a bridge and he looked way down. He saw a boat. "There she is," said the baby bird. He called to the boat, but the boat did not stop. The boat went on. He looked up. He looked way, way up. He saw a big plane. This must be his mother. "Here I am, mother," he called. But the plane did not stop. The plane went on. Just Just then, the baby bird saw a big thing. This must be his mother. There she is, he said. There is my mother, 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 mother. Here I am, mother, he said to the big thing. But the big thing just said, snort. You are not my mother, said the baby bird. You are a snort, and I have to get out of here. But the baby bird could not get away, and the snort went up. It went way, way up. And up went the baby bird. Oh, what is this snort going to do to me? Get me out of here. Just then, the snort came to a stop. Where am I? Said the baby bird. I want to go home. I want my mother. Then something happened. The snort put that baby bird back in the tree. The baby bird was home. Just then, the mother bird came back to the tree. Do you know who I am? She said to the baby. Yes, I know who you are, said the baby bird. You are not a kitten. You are not a hen. You are not a dog. You are not a cow. You are not a boat or a plane or a snort. You are a bird, and you are my mother.
That is a hard act to follow. Wow. Wow. Now is the time in our service for something very different. For the sharing of joys and sorrows. These matters of great personal significance that touches us, our families, and loved ones. If you have a joy or sorrow, please come to the front to light a candle. If you would like to speak, please keep your sharing brief at this time so the ritual moves smoothly. You may also choose to light your candle in silence. Online participants are invited to share by typing your joys and sorrows in the chat. A volunteer in the sanctuary will read them aloud. So please come up. Oh. This pastoral prayer is a prayer for Mother's Day by Reverend Judy Wells. O divine source of love, this divine source of love, we thank you for the countless ways you make yourself known to us. O deep lap, we feel supported by your firm strength under us. Yielding yet solid, you are utterly reliable. You will never let us down. Oh, all-embracing arms, you hold us warmly against your comforting self. In the rhythmic cycles of your body, we feel the steady heartbeat of everlasting life. Oh, sweet breath, you lift our hair and caress our skin. Yours is the breath of kindness. You dry our tears. You whisper solace in the night. Oh, beautiful, familiar face, your loveliness is constant, though your expression changes with climate, age, and season. Were we to sleep for 1,000 years and awake in an unknown place, still we would know that we are at home in you. Praise and thanks to you, divine source of comfort, of pleasure, of knowledge, and of peace. May we always remember with every breath and gesture that we are loved, we are loved, we are loved. Each Sunday, we collect an offering to support the ministries of the church and the mission of a community organization that shares our faith values. This month and next, contributions to our collection plate are being shared with Kids to Camp. Your support helps children from underserved communities to Sheep's Pasture Nature Camp, where they can explore and learn in nature. To donate by check, please make it out to First Parish and write Kids to Camp in the memo line. You may also donate online through the First Parish Church website. This morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Some thoughts from Audre Lorde on becoming a mother. How the days went while you were blooming within me. I remember each upon each, the swelling, changed planes of my body, and how you first fluttered, then jumped, and I thought it was my heart. How the days wound down, and the turning of winter, I recall, with you growing heavy against the wind. I thought, now her hands are formed, and her hair has started to curl. Now her teeth are done. Now she sneezes. Then the seed opened. I bore you one morning just before spring. My head rang like a fiery piston. My legs were towers between which a new world was passing. Since then, I can only distinguish one thread running through ours, you, flowing through selves toward you.
that work? Good morning, UUs. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I was born in a long time ago. In fact, I'd be 210 years old if I was still around. So if you've read any of my history of the women's rights movement, you know that Susan B. and Anthony and I wrote the Declaration of Sentiments, as it's called, to arms for female equality. You know, rights for women across a variety of spectrums. I had a reputation for being a good writer. I did write a lot in my lifetime. I hope this piques your interest in Mother's Day. Luella? Thank you. So let me start from the beginning. As I said, I was born in 1815. Well, that's 210 years ago. I figured it out. In Johnstown, New York. My father was a lawyer and made clear his preference for his son. That's how it was in those days. But I decided to excel in intellectual and other male spheres. I graduated from Emma Willard's Troy Female Seminary in I don't know where I'm buried now. Seminary in 1832. Actually, Emma Willard is right across the street from where my sister, oh, wait a minute. Emma Willard is right across the street from where my sister Sharon lives. Still exists. My cousin, the reformer Gerrit Smith, piqued my interest in the abolitionist, temperance, and women's rights movement. Carrie? Quote? Yeah.
I would have girls regard themselves not as adjectives, but as nouns.
So girls are nouns, not adjectives. I married Henry Stanton, a reformer, in 1840. Let it be known that our vows omitted the word obey from the oath. We went, and he really lived up to that. We went to London immediately to the World Anti-Slavery Convention. I joined other women in objecting to their exclusion from the assembly. We returned home, and we, over the next several years, became parents to 7 children. Henry studied and practiced law. I eventually moved to Seneca Falls, New York. I think you've heard of Seneca Falls, probably. And our house is still there. You can go visit it. Yes, a mother to 7. But I found time for other women in objecting to not having their right to vote. I held the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, where we drew up a Declaration of Sentiments to take the lead in proposing that women be granted the right to vote. I continued to write and lecture on women's rights and other reforms of the day. I met Susan B. Anthony around this time in the early 1850s, and we collaborated as leaders promoting women's rights in general, such as divorce, and the right to vote in particular. Pat?
The moment we begin to fear the opinions of others and hesitate to tell the truth that is in us, and the motives and policy are silent when we should speak, the divine floods of light and life no longer flow into our souls.
Thank you. During the Civil War, I concentrated my efforts on the abolishing slavery, but afterwards I became even more outspoken in promoting women's suffrage. In 1868, Susan and I worked on the Revolution. It was a militant weekly paper. We formed the National Women's Suffrage Association, that's NWSA, and I was its first president for 21 years. As part of my work on behalf of mothers' rights, I traveled to give lectures and speeches. I called for an amendment to the U.S. Constitution giving women the right to vote. Susan and I also wrote the three volumes of the history of women's suffrage from 1881 to 1886. Now, of interest to you Unitarian Universalists, besides chronicling the history of the suffrage movement, I took on the role religion played in the struggle for equal rights for women. I had long argued that the Bible and organized religion played in denying women their full rights. My daughter, Harriet Stanton Blatch, and I published a critique, The Women's Bible, which was published in 2 volumes in 1895 and 1898. This brought considerable protests, not only from expected religious quarters, but from many women who were in the suffrage movement. Victoria?
When women understand that governments and religions are human inventions, that Bibles, prayer books, catechisms, and encyclical letters are all emanations from the brains of man, they will no longer be oppressed by the injunctions that come to them with the divine authority of "Thus saith the Lord."
I'm now Janet. Elizabeth Cady Stanton died when she was 86 years old. She lived a long, productive life. She died in 1902, the year my mother-in-law was born, actually. And more so than many other women in the movement, she was able and willing to speak out on a wide spectrum of issues, from the primacy of legislature over the courts and Constitution to the right of women to ride bicycles. Elizabeth Cady Stanton deserves to be recognized as one of the more remarkable mothers in American history.
That's more like it. Eleanor Roosevelt was a daughter, wife, and mother. These relationships were often complicated and strained. As First Lady, she grew as an activist and an advocate. From 1935 until 1962, she wrote My Day, a nationally syndicated newspaper column 6 days a week. I would like to read you the Mother's Day column from May 13th, 1944, The Timeless Wisdom of Eleanor. Sunday will be the 30th observance of Mother's Day. This is a nice gesture, and this year it is a particularly significant one. War has placed new responsibilities upon mothers. Greater sacrifices are demanded of them, and whether they are young or old, their lives are much more difficult. I wish that we could celebrate a Parents' Day, for it seems to me that in this country, what we really care about is the home, which is created by parents. Nevertheless, I hope this Mother's Day will bring to many mothers a sense of the important position which they hold in the life of the country, and that the praise and honor accorded them will compensate for the hardships and anxieties which they are courageously enduring. I've just received a pamphlet which claims to have found a satisfactory solution to racial questions. The gentleman who is the author of it would like to take one of our minority groups and transport all its members to another land. He would have us build roads there and give them equipment and trained personnel to start them off. This would remove much manpower and machinery from our country. But to the author of this pamphlet, this means a real solution. I'm afraid that this would never be a permanent solution, because if we decided to move one minority group and settle it in some other part of the world, why shouldn't we decide to do the same thing with another group with which we found it difficult to get along at some time or the other? We have among us a number of groups that some of our people would undoubtedly like to remove to other parts of the world on occasion. If we begin this, it would seem quite logical to me to go on, and I wonder just where we would stop dividing up our nation. Perhaps it would come about when we would eventually return our country to those who originally owned it, the Indians, whom we have now more or less segregated on reservations. Quite seriously, however, I wonder if the problem does not go deeper. Isn't our real problem how to get along with all the people who make up the citizenry of the United States at the present time in the places where they live? Isn't it necessary to face getting on with people all over the world who are going to be our very close neighbors in the future, and who are going to come and go and trade with us and live among us now and then? They may learn much from us, and they may want to teach us things also. If this is going to happen, and it must happen, if there's going to be peace in this world, I wonder if my correspondent, who would deport any group we considered undesirable here, has wondered how the bigger problem would ever be solved.
Thank you very much, Beth. And we will sing our next hymn as we come marching, marching. We're singing verses 1 and 4, and I believe you can remain seated if you'd like to sing this hymn. Be okay. Next reading is with our gentleman here, the reading Mother by Strickland Gillian. So please come up.
Just before I start my portion of the reading, I've got to say, at our Unitarian Church in New York, the one I was born into, Eleanor Roosevelt visited us in the whole Sunday school, 1959-60. Can't remember. Quite an experience. Now, back to Mother's Day. The Reading Mother by Strickland Gillian. I had a mother who read to me, sages of pirates who scoured the sea, cutlasses clenched in their yellow teeth, blackbirds stowed in the hold beneath.
I had a mother who read me lays of ancient and gallant and golden days, stories of Marmion and Ivanhoe, which every boy has a right to know.
I had a mother who read me tales of Gelert the Hound of the hills of Wales, true to his trust till his tragic death, faithfulness blent with his final breath.
I had a mother who read to me the things that wholesome life to the boy heart brings. stories that stir with an upward touch. Oh, that each mother of boys were such.
You may have tangible wealth untold, caskets of jewels and coffers of gold. Richer than I you can never be. I had a mother who read to me.
Fannie Lou Townsend Hamer rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most important, passionate, and powerful voices of the civil and voting rights movements, and a leader in the efforts for greater economic opportunities for African Americans. Hamer was born on October 6, 1917, in Montgomery County, Mississippi, the 20th and last child of sharecroppers Luella and James Townsend. She grew up in poverty, and at age 6, she joined her family picking cotton. By age 12, she was forced to work on the plantation full-time. Though her schooling was limited, Hamer educated herself by diligently studying her Bible. In church, she also fell in love with singing. Her amazing voice and formidable faith both became defining features of her later activism. In 1944, she married Percy Hamer, and the couple toiled on the Mississippi plantation owned by a man by the name of W.D. Marlowe until 1962. However, in the year before, 1961, Hamer received a hysterectomy by a white doctor without her consent while undergoing surgery to remove a uterine tumor. Such forced sterilization of Black women as a way to reduce the Black population was so widespread, it was referred to as a Mississippi appendectomy. Unable to have children of her own, the Hamers adopted 2 daughters. But then again, in the summer of 1962, Hamer attended a meeting led by civil rights activist James Forman and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, better known as SNCC, and James Bevel of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. She became a SNCC organizer, and on August 31, 1962, she led 7 volunteers to register in Indianola, Mississippi courthouse. They had previously been denied the right to vote due to an unfair literacy test, which whites wouldn't have been able to pass either. Upon arriving home that night, Hamer was confronted by the plantation owner, who ordered her to withdraw her voter registration. She refused and left the plantation that evening, never to return. They kicked me off the plantation. They set me free, she said. It's the best thing that could happen. Now I can work for my people. In June of 1963, after successfully completing a voter registration program in Charleston, South Carolina, Hamer and several other Black women were arrested for sitting in a whites-only bus station restaurant in Winona, Mississippi. At the Winona jailhouse, she and several of the women were brutally beaten, leaving Hamer with lifelong injuries from blood clots to the eye, kidney damage, and leg damage. In 1964, Hamer's national reputation soared as she co-founded the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, which challenged the local Democratic Party's efforts to block Black participation. When Hamer spoke before the Credentials Committee at the Democratic National Convention that year, calling for mandatory integrated state delegations, President Lyndon Johnson held a televised press conference so that she wouldn't get any television airtime. But her speech, with its poignant description of racial prejudice in the South, was televised later to a much larger audience. In 1964, Fanny helped organize Freedom Summers, which brought hundreds of college students, Black and white, to help with African American voters' registration in the segregated South. She then announced her candidacy for the Mississippi House of Representatives, but was barred from the ballot. A year later, Fanny, along with Victoria Gray and Annie Devine, became the first Black women to stand in the United States Congress when they unsuccessfully protested the Mississippi House election of that year. But at least they were there and they were noticed. In 1971, she helped found the National Women's Political Caucus. Hamer helped women to run for government office. That same year, she gave one of her most famous speeches at the University of Wisconsin, telling the predominantly white audience that your freedom is shackled to my freedom in chains, and until I am free, you're not free either. Finally, frustrated with the political process, she turned to economics as a strategy for greater racial equality. She launched the Freedom Farm Cooperative, buying up land that Blacks could own and farm collectively, with the assistance of donors, including famed singer Harry Belafonte. She purchased 640 acres and launched a co-op store, a boutique, and a sewing enterprise. She single-handedly ensured that 200 units of low-income housing were built. Many of them are still in existence in Louisville today. Unfortunately, she died in 1977 at the age of 59. The mourners at her funeral included legends of civil rights movements such as Ella Baker and Stokely Carmichael, and many notable politicians. Fittingly, the service concluded with her favorite hymn, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine." And it did continue to shine, because 48 years later, President Joe Biden awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor.
I'm sure most of you have heard of Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers. But do you know about Dolores Huerta? I hope I'm saying that right. Good. She's a longtime and renowned American labor leader and civil rights advocate. Along with Cesar Chavez, Dolores co-founded the United Farm Workers Union in 1962. She held the position of vice president in the union for 4 decades, playing a pivotal role in the union's numerous achievements. I think that Dolores is less well known than Cesar because she is a woman, but she's just as amazing as he was. And on this Mother's Day, I'd like to honor Dolores Coate. Although she did have children, this is not what she's known for. Early on, Dolores advocated that entire families participate in the labor movement. After all, it was men, women, and children together in the fields, picking, thinning, and hoeing. Yes. Thus, the practice of nonviolence was not only a philosophy, but a very necessary approach in providing for the safety of all. While the United Farm Workers Union didn't have a lot of money, it was able to wield significant power through hugely successful grape boycotts across the country. Little side note here. In 1970, my husband David and I met at the national boycott of California table grapes outside the Quincy Fruit Basket. Back now to Dolores. Although born in a small mining town in northern New Mexico, Dolores grew up in Stockton, California. Her first job after college was as an organizer with the Stockton Community Service Organization, or CSO. There she found the Agricultural Workers Association. In 1955, she met CSO's executive director, Cesar Chavez. The two soon discovered that they shared a common vision of organizing farm workers. But this idea was not in line with the CSO's mission. Therefore, Cesar and Dolores resigned from CSO in the spring of 1962 launched the National Farm Workers Association. This later became the United Farm Workers when it merged with another organization. Some credit her with inventing the UFW slogan, "Se si puede," which translates to, "Yes, you can." She helped organize the Delano, California grape strike in 1965. She managed the grape boycott campaigns on the East Coast and managed negotiations with the grape companies to end the strike. Dolores is also a passionate women's rights advocate. While directing the first California grape boycott in New York State, she met and was most inspired by Gloria Steinem. After her lifelong activism, Dolores was the first Latina inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. Dolores' major accomplishments with the United Farm Workers were due to her lobbying and negotiating talents. In 1963, Dolores got the California legislature to pass the Aid for Dependent Families, known as AFDC, and to pass disability insurance for farm workers. She helped the state pass the Agricultural Labor Relations Act of 1975. This was the first law of its kind in the country. It granted farm workers in California the right to collectively organize and bargain for better wages and working conditions. Dolores became one of the UFW's most visible spokespersons. She also stood up for women's liberation and worked on breaking down gender discrimination within the farm workers movement. In 2012, President Obama bestowed Dolores with her most prestigious award, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the United States. These few minutes I have aren't enough to share Dolores' full life story. It is very long indeed. She is now in her 90s. What's stunning is that Dolores still travels around to talk about social justice topics, especially about workers and women's rights. My main source for this talk is the AAE Speakers Bureau, which is sponsoring her. AAE stands for All American Entertainment Speakers Bureau. Upon receiving the Presidential Medal of Freedom, Dolores said, "The freedom of association means that people can come together in organization to fight for solutions to the problems they confront in the communities. The great social justice changes in our country have happened when people come together, organized, and took direct action. It is this right that sustains and nurtures our democracy today. The civil rights movement, the labor movement, the women's movement, and the equality movement for our LGBT brothers and sisters are all manifestations of these rights. I thank President Obama for raising the importance of organizing to the highest level of merit and honor. I hope the story of Dolores Huerta is an inspiration to you. Let me remind you of her words about uniting together to work for justice. Si se puede. Yes, you can. Now let us join in singing our closing hymn, number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do, and we are singing this through 2 rounds. In the first round, we're singing When the Spirit Says Do, and the second round, we're singing When the Spirit Says Sing. These are my closing words. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. The time has come to extinguish our chalice. Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our time for worship has ended. Our time of fellowship now begins. If you would like to stay to socialize and have some refreshments, please make your way to the Upper Parish Hall.
There's always, there's always those private areas. Nowadays, there's